that signed that treaty, the Soviet Union and the United States, is any longer testing atomic bombs in the air. That's an important step forward. It's an important step for our generation. It's an important step for the next generation of Americans. My point is that we need to do more here in the United States. We need to do more here in the state of West Virginia. And we're going to turn this country around, and we're going to do something for the state of West Virginia.
How much footage have I got? What do you want? Can you change
President Kennedy was so pleased and honored to appoint him, and he's made such a fine federal judge. And I am pleased to be with all of you. I'm pleased to be back in the state of West Virginia, because all of the Kennedys, because of the difference that you made in 1960, the Kennedys regard West Virginia really as their second home. You were so kind to him, made such an effort on his behalf. It was the state of West Virginia who really changed the direction of that campaign. It was the state of West Virginia who really decided who was going to be the Democratic nominee in 1960. Now, I come back here in the year 1968 because I think that we have much unfinished business in the United States. I don't think that the answers of the early 1960s or the 1950s are going to necessarily be the answers of the 1970s or the 1980s. I think that we're pleased that the effort was made here. In this area of the state, the unemployment rate was up over 20% or 25%. I've traveled through the hollows of this area of the state, the smaller communities, even smaller. Even in 1959 and 1960, although we cut down the unemployment rate down to about 6%. From the 12 of the various job programs and the road and the highway programs, there's still much that needs to be done in the state of West Virginia.
Yeah.
It's true in the ghettos, it's true in North.
So from town to town here in West Virginia, Senator Kennedy has spread the gospel of economic improvement and the nostalgia of the visit in the same locations of John F. Kennedy in 1960. In his foreign policy address in Charleston tonight, Senator Kennedy skirts the Vietnam issue, still delicate because of the hope of peace talks. Instead, he calls for better relations with the Soviet Union without counting necessarily on liberalization of the Soviet regime, and he proposes cutbacks in nuclear forces by both countries. This is Irv Chapman reporting on the Kennedy campaign in West Virginia.
I think we can make it possible for jobs and employment And that's what I stand for, and it's one of the reasons, one of the changes I'm going to make if I'm elected President of the United States, and why I run this I'm concerned about the fact that there is a cutback in what we expected to spend on education. Not that I think that the education program has been perfect by any means, because I don't think it has. But I think still we have a responsibility to ensure that we have the best possible educational system. And I know that you're concerned about that. And you're concerned about your children. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Nice to see you. What is your name?
Jim Silver.
How are you?
It's good to see you.
Nice to see you. How are you?
Fine. These are children.
Where do you work now?
In the coal mine.
Do you? How long you been in the coal mine?
16 years.
What kind of work do you do there?
Up pin top, blue coat top.
How's it coming? All right?
Yeah, we're fine.
Where do your children go to school?
At Superior, like,
Right up here. Been working there 16 years though?
Been what, 16 years.
Is that kept going full time, the mine?
Well, the light, in about light 6 years, I see.
Last
Been one
6
full time.
years.
You work all you want to, just about.
So there haven't been any layoffs?
No layoff.
So this is one of the areas that's really been very fortunate.
Yeah, it's been working good.
Very lucky. It's nice to see you.
it's good to see
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
Good luck to you.
Hello. How are you? Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Is this your son?
Yes, this is Sam.
How are you?
This is my oldest one.
How are you? How many do you have?
There's another in the background there.
Does your husband work here?
No, he works at North Fork, Thompson Furniture.
I see. How long have you lived here?
3 years.
Where
Been in
did-
West Virginia all my life.
Where did you live before that?
Down near Jaeger.
What did he do down there?
Well, we was going to school at Jaeger High.
I see. And then you just moved.
Testing. And here in Superior, West Virginia, which is about the smallest town we found on this tour, Senator Kennedy has made some time for door-to-door handshaking, coming up upon the surprised householders in these wood frame homes.
Great difficulties and problems in West Virginia. But there isn't the desperation that truly existed in 1960.
Senator, do you have a response to that nasty editorial in the Welsh newspaper?
Well, I will. When I get to Welsh, I will.
Six. Well,
My old friend Sam Solons and Mayor Swope, I'm very pleased to be here, and I want to express my particular appreciation to our Republican mayor. I have not been touring the country saying nice things about the Republicans, so I want to make my position clear, but I think it was very kind of him to come this. If I win against the Republicans in November, I'm going to make sure that the mayor is invited to the first dinner at the White House. And I'll lay out the red carpet for him as he laid it out for me. I saw the Welsh Daily News. I wonder if Mr. Taylor came today.
He's a coward.
If he would, maybe he'd come up on the platform with us.
He's a coward. He won't be.
He said I was uninvited, unwanted, undesirable, unethical, un-American, unfit, unprepared, unshorn, unpopular, unloved, and overrated. I thought that was putting it all together. I wanted to make sure that he knew that I'd had my hair cut, though. So, you know, we were here in West Virginia before he was, Mr. Taylor. And if anybody had asked me in 1960 when we were touring, and I came to Welsh, I've been to Welsh, I suppose, at least a half a dozen different times, I would have said, Mr. Taylor, you're invited to West Virginia, and you're invited to Welsh. We're delighted to have you here, because that's the way people of Welsh are. And that's the way the people of the state of West Virginia are. So I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to see all of you. It's really like coming home to come to West Virginia, with all of the problems, even driving through the areas that we have, recognizing the problems that still exist in the state of West Virginia, but also recognizing the great progress that's been made. I think when we campaigned here in 1960, I didn't come to Welsh, nor did any of the rest of us, saying that all the problems would disappear. But we did say that we could do more. We did say that we could face the problems and that something would be done. Here was West Virginia, who had contributed more men per capita in all of the wars, the Second World War and the First World War, than any other state of the Union, and yet had had less attention from the federal government than any other state of the Union, had been an ignored state of the Union. Well, I think that was changed in 1961. The first act that President Kennedy took was focused on the state of West Virginia. In many of the hollows and many of the areas around here, the employment's not as high as it should be in the state of West Virginia. It's still 6%. The job's finished. The job is not finished. There's still a great deal more that needs to be done in the state of West Virginia. And I think that we can do it. I think that we can do it, and I think that the federal government can play a role. I think the federal government can give special tax incentives and tax credits to areas such as, to industry, to locate in areas such as West Virginia, or the ghettos, or the other areas where there's unemployment. Let's move away from the welfare system. Let's move away from the dole system and go to jobs and employment. That's what I stand for. I think that also that the federal government has a responsibility in a lot, not on the basis of what we've done in the past, although I think that's important, because we kept the promises for your support. I ask you to send delegations and delegates to Chicago who will support my efforts, because I think that if we can win in Chicago, we can win then the election in November, and we can turn the United States around, we can turn this country around, and we can make a major difference for the state of West Virginia. My candidacy is going very well. I took a poll amongst my children. Very encouraging. I received 4 votes. My brother Edward were reassessing their position to see what they could do. But I come here to ask for your help. Over the period of the next few weeks, it's a critical and crucial time, some of the primaries in which I'm running, and here in the state of West Virginia. I ask for your help. I think that we can continue the effort that we've started in West Virginia. We can make a difference for the state of West Virginia. We can recognize the problems that exist in this area. We can do something about education. We can do something to clean up the streams so that they're not polluted. We can do something to make sure that the air is not polluted. All of these problems are not going to disappear, but they're soluble. All of these problems we can deal with. And that's why I come back here in 1968 and I ask for your help. if you give me your help, if you send some delegates to Chicago that can support me there, we can win in Chicago, we can win the election in November, and we can turn the state of West Virginia around and turn the United States around and stand for something. Thank you very much.
We do a very short stand-up. Here in Welsh, West Virginia, in the coal country, the crowd was very friendly, but the newspaper wasn't. And so the first order of business for Senator Kennedy was responding to an unfriendly newspaper editorial.
Want a hook in, Jim?
For Senator Robert Kennedy, a 24-hour barnstorming visit to, again.
Hi, Robert. How are you? Good to see you. Watch his rubber now. It's a platform to speak
Congressman Heckler, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to be back here. I'm very pleased to see all of you. I look at all of you with great nostalgia about when I think back 8 years ago when we were doing the same kind of thing, making the same kind of effort. I think all of the Kennedys look upon West Virginia really as their second home. We look upon the citizens of West Virginia not just as our fellow citizens within the country, but much closer than that. Really as almost relatives to all of us, because you made the difference in 1960. The people of the state of West Virginia, without any question, made it possible for John Kennedy to receive the nomination in the Democratic Party. The fact that he was able to go across this state and he was able to gain your support and your confidence about the programs that he intended to introduce and that he intended to support. The fact that you believed in him, the fact that you supported him, made it possible for him to turn a very difficult campaign into a winning campaign. So that after he won here in the state of Virginia, yeah, but I mean, this is so grand that you hardly have to name the whole state. I got it. Listen, you're not talking to somebody who's just the first time he's visited here. I spend more time in West Virginia than I have in any other part of the United States. But the fact that he won here in the state of West Virginia made it possible for him then to go on and get the nomination. This was the state that really made the difference. And the people of the state of West Virginia were the ones that made the difference for him. So I come back here with that feeling. And I come back here to ask for your support for the unfinished business that still lies ahead of us, the unfinished business that still lies ahead of us here in the state of West Virginia, the fact that there is still poverty, that there's still unemployment, perhaps only half the rate of what it was in 1960. Perhaps we've constructed hundreds of miles of new roads. Perhaps it's possible that, and it is true, that thousands of people are now eating decent meals, that we're not eating adequate and satisfactory diets in 1960. All of this has been done, but there is much more that still needs to be done. There's still a rate of unemployment that goes up over 6%. We have to do that. We have to find decent jobs for all of the young men and the young women of the state of West Virginia. We have to have the best possible educational system in the state of West Virginia. And those who still suffer from poverty, in the state of West Virginia must be adequately and satisfactorily fed. All of these things need to be done, and I ask for your support, not to begin anew, but to continue the effort that we started in 1960, to continue here in the state of West Virginia, to be able to win the delegates in West Virginia who will go to Chicago, so that we can win in Chicago. If we can win in Chicago, we're going to win the election in November, and we're going to turn this country around and begin again. And I ask you. So I thank you very much for coming out tonight. As I say, it's a very nostalgic evening for me to come back here, as it always is, to the state of West Virginia. We spent so much time here, not only President Kennedy, but all the other members of the Kennedy family, that we look upon you, all of you, as our brothers and members of a family. So I appreciate coming back here. I appreciate your coming out. I appreciate the sheriff and the mayor. Ladies and gentlemen,